A very warm welcome, everybody. Thank you for clicking on this video, Cancer Research. Yes, it's cancer research, okay. It's my own research of, say, 10, 15 years research, lots of life experiences, but yeah, mainly research. Obviously, if you've clicked on this video, you may be in certain, different states of having cancer. Let's say, I call it toxicity, but this, for the video sake, let's say cancer. You may be like sat thinking, oh my, and all this stuff, and have a lot of the fear that's put around, and there's so many people, you hear lots of Bob Marley. I was only looking at earlier, and lots of, but not just Bob, loads of every human being on the planet that's been so-called diagnosed with cancer. You're sat there and you get all this fear, and that's literally what it is. Okay, at the end of the day, you're getting fear. You're hearing all your friends, your neighbours, everybody you're seeing it on the telly, run for the cure, and all this stuff, and oh my God, it's going to kill me, and etc., etc. And you think, well, hang on, what causes this? Why is it every time? Like if you went out to someone now in your local town and said, what do you think of cancer? They go, oh my God, you haven't got it. Are you okay? And then this is what it is. This gets into everybody through fear-based. This is why everybody has the same. Almost everybody has the same outlook, because they're scared, literally. And I can understand if somebody's, these industries say, and you see it all over the place, that it's going to kill you and stuff like that. So the reason I'm doing this video for is to help you uncover what's going on, basically. Everybody. So if you find this video useful, share it with your friends and family. Anyway, here's a quote that I've got on here, that I've just put on here, that is pretty relevant. It says, trauma-based mind control. If a population is bombarded with non-stop fear, most become completely brainwashed to implanted narratives. After this stage is completed, subjects are no longer capable of critical thinking. So you have to think, right, that this narrative that's been put about cancer, which a lot of people have got fearful, and obviously and all that, has been put around for 100 years or something plus. It was like 1902, cancer research became put in the so-called limelight and started generating money and things like that. So you've got to remember, I'm talking about 120 odd years or something of complete brainwashing. Run for the cure, shave your hair, all these adverts, Macmillan with this and all this stuff, and people are just watching on the telly, and they just they listen, and they literally think, I'm going to die, I've had blah blah. But then you have to think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, and honestly think of this and sit and listen, and think, how many people in your family, friend circles has had chemo, and many of them survived, like lots of them. Most of them, unfortunately, it doesn't do what it says. It comes from mustard gas, World War II, and all that stuff. It's not a good thing to be having, but it's the only thing that I suppose they can push out, because that makes this industry, that pushes this like 40,000 per patient. As soon as you're a patient, and you've got all the fear and everything. And then you've got these people playing God, pretending, you've only got 6 months, you've got a year to live. Who are they to say that? That's just their sales pitch, because obviously they want to make money from using chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And if you look online as well, you'll see that chemotherapy is actually is carcinogenic. Look it up on Google now. Don't believe what I'm telling you right now. Look it up on Google now. It is carcinogenic. It causes secondary cancers as well, and also the nurses and pharmacists that administer it have to have gloves and everything protective on, because it's so toxic. Yet they want you to put that into your body and believe that it's going to heal you. That's complete. That is what is known for me as quackery. But don't take my word for that. Looking now as you're watching this video, look in Google, and you'll find that. Also, radiation is carcinogenic as well. They put a sugar drip into the body to find out where it is, because everything that you've got when you get toxicity in your body, cancer, is you've got your pH is low, so you've got a lot of garbage in your body. You're very acid, So the sugar goes straight, and that's how they find out in radiology and things like that they use, which is also listed as a carcinogenic. Anyway, I don't want to go too heavy into that. I want to tell you why this situation is as it is. And obviously, it goes back to the fact that in 1900 or previous to that, people used herbs, homeopathy and stuff like that, acupuncture, reflexology, etc., etc. Along comes this guy, Rockefeller, which you may have heard, you might not have heard of, and changes the whole system, basically puts it into a money-making system, because there's no money to be made in herbs and natural plants and things like that. You can't patent them. So what does he do? Obviously, he changed the whole system, and then, without going into other things, flexing the report and all that, you come forward to how we are now. And why so many people, when they hear the cancer, oh my God, their fear, and they'll sign and they'll do anything. And if you tell them, I've told people and I've said to them, look, this, what I'm telling you, they just don't listen. Unfortunately, a lot of people have just gone, but he must be a conspiracy theorist. All these people, this 100 and odd years, and and all the stuff you see on the thingy, it's got to be true. It goes back to this here. If you put something out enough, propaganda, most of the people are going to believe it. Unfortunately, to their own peril. I mean, Otto Warburg in the 1930s won a Nobel Prize for discovering that cancer can't live in an alkaline environment, but it thrives in an acid, low oxygen environment. And he had one, but have you ever heard of him? Go and look him up, Otto Warburg. So I'm doing this unscripted, so I've not got nothing written down. But so anyway, that's one of the main reasons that people, and you might be watching this now thinking, oh, I've got, and stuff like that. It's just basically a cancer is an inconvenience at the time, because your body has become toxic, whether it's through this vaccination or whether it's through pharmaceutical tablets, which you can look at all the side effects of all those and stuff. Lots of them are carcinogenic as well. And even before that, you may have got cancer, if your diet's not good, if you're having a microwave, lots of different toxic things we didn't have. If you go back to the 1900s and eat like that, you're fine. But after that, we've got microwaves, we've got vaccines, we've got even pollutants around and stuff like that, body creams, and stuff like that, sun creams and all that. There's lots of other things, but I don't want to make this video too long, but just give you an idea. But so then you're going to get toxicity. Your body just needs resetting. That's all you really need to do. You don't need mustard gas and stuff like that in your body that they're going to make money from. That's not their intention, to let you know this information. This is why I've got to upload this video probably on Rumble, because it wouldn't be on YouTube for a couple of minutes. It would be taken down. So oh my God, sorry. Now. So basically, they don't want you to know that, obviously, and this is all science backed. So when people may be watching this thinking, a conspiracy theorist, who's a bit of an idiot. No, I'm not an idiot. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've had many of talks. I've been thrown out of doctors' offices. I've spoken to immunologists, scientists themselves in the field, and when I've tried to present other things, they're like, "That's not scientific," but it is scientific. It's just not the science that you push, that happens to be, well known to be infiltrated and put in the benefit of the pharmaceutical industry, not of the people. It's only when you look, alternatively, you'll find the real science for stuff. When they say there's no further studies done, there's no further studies because they can't make any money from it. Because you can't patent sour soap or garlic or ginger and stuff that heals bodies. They have to have the synthetic form, which they can make money from. And they'll say stuff. But anyway, I'm deviating a little bit. But so anyway, look, this is I'll put most of the links. I'll put a lot of links for what I'm talking about in the description underneath. So everything I'm talking about can be found. And if I haven't posted the links, please message me below this video and say, look, where's the link for this? Where's the link for that? I'd like to see it. Anyway, so we go on. Here we go. This is the biggest, maybe a shock to someone, maybe not. But this is from Cancer Research's own site. This is from their annual money that they get. They actually got, last year, they got £735 million, and that was up by 51 million from the year before. £735 million. And I think the CEO's in a mansion, that they're on just ridiculous amounts of money. Something else is coming into my head as well. I'm going to put a link to this so you can actually read this yourself. Don't just listen to me. I think I made a memo from this. Trust us, a cure's around the corner. But it also, if you look into cancer research and you look on their website, so please don't just take mine. Look around. You'll find it's all pharmaceutical affiliated. So they're all scientists, all the directors, everybody that run this cancer research are all connected, or they are basically the pharmaceutical industry. So they're on like a double whammy because they're making money from, they make, which I'll show you in a minute, proof of how much money they make, but they make money from the cancer treatment, so-called treatment, which doesn't, people don't end up well if you do a bit more research without me going on too much. And then they've got money from here, which is, like I said, this is only that last year. Obviously this year's wouldn't be out, but yeah, £735 million. I suppose they keep the illusion, by all these people running and thinking that there's no cure. But I suppose you can't really blame them. Same with the doctors and stuff you may be seeing at the moment. If you're seeing doctors and people like that, they're obviously just been to Rockefeller and they've been trained poorly, indoctrinated to all this stuff. To Rockefeller and stuff like that, and they actually believe that a lot of this themselves. They think, oh, this is cancer, we must give you chemo, radiation, cut it out, blah blah blah. So they're poorly trained. You can't really blame them, and have a bad attitude with them. I mean, I like to try to educate them as much as I can to what the reality of it is, But sometimes they just don't listen, or you get thrown out, like. But yeah, they're actually just been indoctrinated. They do so many years at pharma school, and I think it's 20 hours in nutrition or something. So they don't even know anything about it. All they know is through, GP, general prescribers. Yeah, but that's what I call them anyway. But yeah, anyway, so this is it. I'll put a link in the description for this. Please share this video if you find it useful, and you may know people that are going through cancer toxicity or something, because this is information they should know. They should know this information. I'm just trying to light the way a little bit for people to do a bit more research. But yeah, this is one I did. Like I said, keep saying the same thing, but £735 million. It's just shocking. I mean, it's shocking that they take in that much money, and they keep saying, oh, together we will beat cancer, and all these adverts, and you're like, really? We really believe that after 125 years that there's no cures around? It's so delusional for people to believe that, but like I said, if you repeat things long enough, you put them in the TV, on the magazines, and everything you see, cancer, 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 it's going to kill you, you've got to get this, you've got to listen to the doctor, the man in the white suit, and that was just really, made £40,000 off giving you carcinogenic, listed carcinogenic. You can look on Google, it will tell you that. It's all carcinogenic, Why would you if a fire's there, you don't whack it with more fire. Let's get some chemo. You dampen it down. You need nature. You need apricot kernels. You need apples. You need fruits and veg, herbs. There's so many things out there. Dandelion root. You need all that to rebuild your body. Anyway, as I diverge with that, I put some links in the description for Natural Testimonies, which you may want to listen to. There's a Chris beat cancer. He's got, I don't know, I think it may be 200, 300 people that have healed holistically. So it's not just me saying this, there's lots of other, like testimonies. That's just a small part. There's lots of other ones if you do research and look around of people that, maybe some people did have chemo, it didn't work, or they just came away from it, so I'm not having this, and they've healed holistically using herbs, fruits, veg, juicing stuff, and greens and things like that. Chris beat cancer himself healed. I've got a link in the description for that. There's a link in the description for The Truth About Cancer, which has got like 2 million subscribers. They've just recently won a court case for being shadow banned and blocked and stuff for their information. They just want to, if you look on their site, it will tell you more about it. I don't want to go into the whole lot, but I'll put a link for that as well. I'll put a link for the cancer one here. So you can go and read the information yourself. Please don't trust what I'm saying. Please do your own research and come to your own conclusion. I'm here as just to give you the information I found, and also to calm any panic down, because as I said, lots of people when they get diagnosed with cancer, they're panicking. Natural. I mean, if I didn't know any of this, I would. So I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just trying to, debunk a little bit of the myths and all that sort of stuff. Cancer is your body's way of letting you know there's something wrong, whichever way it may. Tumours, blood, being down, feeling this and that. Your body's telling you, hey, and tumours are kept in places deliberately so it doesn't spread around the rest of the body. If you have biopsies and cut things, it spreads. And also scans as well. These scans that this industry, the pharmaceutical industry, are known also as well as if you look online, you'll find that as well. All the scans are carcinogenic, listed carcinogenic. So it's not just me saying this. Anyway, let's get on to the next. So we got the money there from Cancer Research, which I'll put the link in. Let me just see if I got this. And here we go again. This is another memo that's come from the internet, but it's actually the revenue that pharmaceutical get, and it's actually the biggest one is oncology here, and this is from 2026. This is a statistical, it's a credited site that this came from. In 2021, this is in billions in US. They got 176 billion pound in 2021 from oncology, cancer, so-called treatment. And now in 2026, they got 320 billion pounds. That's per year from their so-called oncology. I mean, it's just like money. And people say, it's not money and stuff. Well, it is. You can see there. And also, they've got control with all that money. They can do things like buy in science. To give credit to stuff. Whether it's a antidepressant or whether it's a chemotherapy drug or something, they can, and they've been proven to do it as well. They can just rig stuff in their own favour, so people believe it. And they'll also say stuff is unscientific because they don't want you to look at any other science. They only want you to look at their science that they've unfortunately 90% of the time rigged in their own favour. And that's not me saying that, just me saying that. There's lots of, if you look around, lots of articles and things that will tell you that. There's one called The Illusion of Science-Based Medicine, which they've pulled apart and couldn't replicate. But if you want any of that, please hit me in the comments and I can provide links and stuff for that. So yeah, I didn't want to make this too long. So that's their revenue anyway, part of their revenue. That's in the US as far as I know, the drugs that bring in the most. I think this second is immunosuppressants, which is the second one, which is the second biggest one on there. So yeah, I mean, they often use that a lot of the times when people get cancer symptoms, like steroids, known as steroids. So, they'll suppress symptoms in the body. I was currently speaking to somebody at the moment that's been diagnosed, and they got through, the body, I suppose, feeling down and it's back up, but convincing the person to not do chemo seems a bit hard, because when you've got it, you've got your family, you've got so-called doctors that you've been told to look up to for, like I said, going back to the brainwashing for the first one, all these years and at school, and doctor, he knows, she knows, whoever, they know best. You've got all that indoctrination, which keeps coming through, and you're told to trust them, and you trust them. And unfortunately, at most people's peril, to be blunt, most people don't survive. And if you do, it comes back again anyway after that. But yeah, that's that one. My computer doesn't play up. Well, it's having a bad day again. Alright, let's get on to the next one. Right, this is my memo of, which I'll put a link to the bottom in as well. I'll put a link in the bottom. As I just said a minute ago, I think I've said most of this. This is based on Otto Warburg and based on a guy who won a Nobel Award for this. Powerful cancer-killing drink, lemon and baking soda, miraculous combination, 10,000 times stronger than chemotherapy. Lemons contain 22 anti-cancer compounds to destroy malignant cells in the range of cancers. Baking soda raises the pH to stop cancer. And also there's a link in the bottom there, which I will put in the description. You can read yourself. There is actually PubMed studies. And there's a Spanish study and some other studies in there. If you search hard enough, I think I will put one of the other links. It's a bit awkward to get onto, but there's PubMed studies there on about lemons and on about bicarb and stuff as well. So it's all science backed. So, for people watching this think, oh, he must be a quack or he's a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. Anything that you want to put under in the comments, I can back up the science, that's been done, completely independent of the pharmaceutical industry or any industry like that. So, yeah, absolutely, I can back anything up I'm saying. If you comments, fair enough. Let's bring it on. And I just basically said on the bottom there, this I did up for somebody, but yeah, I put a link to the websites of those ones I mentioned earlier. The two that I think are pretty good. There's many others. Chris Beat Cancer and The Truth About Cancer, which were, I told you, shadow banned. So yeah, that's that. Then we got here a quote from a doctor. I don't know if you can see that a lot better. I'll read it obviously after you maybe. But yeah, doctors are being manipulated in providing poor care. Much of the medical literature is just pharmaceutical marketing in disguise. They overhype the benefits and minimise the harms. Dr. Joseph Whitderen, MD. There's lots of MDs. Asim Malhotra that's come out as well, stuff like that. That you may have heard of, and people there's lots of people that used to toe the line that have realised there's something wrong here, and come out, and lots of them will tell you that. There's also lots of, I haven't got them here, but there's lots of memos of insider people that used to work for the pharmaceutical industry for 10, 15 years, 20 years, that basically that will tell you the same thing, that most of the science or most of the thingy they used is it's just been rigged, it's brought and paid for in their favour. They do their own science. That's why if you're debating with somebody, for instance, I'll just conclude with this because I don't want to make the video too long, like I keep saying, but if you're debating with somebody, for instance, that's pro-vaccine, pro-pharmaceutical industry or whatever, they'll often provide stuff from that industry. So they'll provide science, so-called science-based medicine, left brain, right brain, stuff like that. I've got a skeptical raptor and things like that, and all those sort of things. And you think, well, hang on, maybe they've got some, people that didn't really know much, or not know much, but wouldn't know how they work, would say, oh yeah, well they provided some credible evidence there that MMR doesn't cause autism, or that chemotherapy works or something like that. But then when you look at them, you think, hang on a minute, this is from the pharmaceutical industry. It's MDs and scientists and people that are known to be affiliated. What's his name? Z-Dog or something, Z-Dog MD, he does the same thing. I've been on his side, and all they really provide is stuff from the own industry. Well, that's like somebody checking, that's like the police or somebody investigating themselves and checking that and saying, no, we did nothing wrong. Or any industry, politicians vetting themselves and saying, no, we didn't do nothing wrong. This is what it's like. And when you pull them out on it and say, no, hang on, I found something alternative from Green Med Info or anywhere else, they go, no, that's not credible. This is the only one that's credible. And eventually you'll just get blocked. If science is there, it's supposed to be up for debate. So everybody's science should be there. So then you can then look at it, whether it's on, cancer or other things, pharma, or even foods or anything. You should have that, that information should all be there. Not saying that's not credible, because it doesn't come from the industry. It's the same even with me, like with natural health. I can provide a natural health link, and I can find it again and again and replicate it. The pharmaceutical industry out of their own industry, you can't find anything. You can only, unfortunately, you can just find the truth, which is a lot of bad things. Like Green Med Info, just as an example, they do natural foods, ginger, garlic, all the uses of and the benefits, and also pharmacological actions. So good and bad things. And I've just finished quickly by saying that in an emergency, you do need the pharmaceutical industry. I'm not saying that if you broke your leg or you needed blood transfer or something in an emergency. I've never knocked the pharmaceutical industry for that, and I'm always a person that would encourage something for people to try and help them. If the pharmaceutical industry was brilliant, I wouldn't be making this video, and that was it. But unfortunately, the whole system, the whole medical system has just been monetized, and then you've got the fear, which goes back to the first memo, if I can get it back again. Here, years and years and years of putting this fear into people. Cancer kills you. Get these coffee mornings, and then they're having coffee and they're having lots of sugar. sugar is acid. So the acid environment that's been proven by Otto Warburg is you're doing that to yourself. You're then giving yourself an acid environment and not an alkaline one, which is fruits and veg and all the sort of, everything that's been provided by the creator. So, definitely look there. Anyway, I hope I've covered everything. If I haven't, then maybe, put something in the comments. But most importantly, from liking and anything and commenting, is share this video. If you think somebody's going to find this useful, then please, that's what it's all about. I'm really tired and a little bit fed up of keep seeing friends, family, seeing people saying, I've got cancer, it's cancer, and all that, and fearing it. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, it's how our bodies have been designed to cope with, I would say, in my opinion, toxicity. Your body gets toxic, you just reset it again. Okay, it may take a while. It actually takes 8 years for a tumour to develop in your body. So you're not going to get healed overnight, but once you've got on that right path and the mindset, hang on, this is nothing. I mean, I've healed people holistically as well. My wife had lung cancer 9-10 years ago, and it's all 11 years ago, something like that. It's a long time, but and that's what pushed me into doing this research. All my family before, 20 family members, all chemo, radio, died. Where are they going? Where's uncle? Where's, they've all gone. So I did my research, and as simple as it is, ginger, garlic, dandelion root, which I got from Neil's yard. I use that 3 times a day. Two ginger and garlic drinks and a dandelion drink, dandelion root. Within 2 weeks, shoulder pains, chest pains, everything gone. She was diagnosed with lung cancer. Next thing you know, after about 2 weeks, still actually smoking, unfortunately, but it was just a hazard that I couldn't get over. But I was quite surprised on how fast that she actually got over it. That was 9 years ago, and doesn't smoke now currently. But yeah, she was healed holistically, and I couldn't believe that people were being fooled into all this, and all the fear, when it was so easy as